here. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Oh, where's my mouse? Oh, there we go. So there's the quadratic formula. You just find a, b, and c, and then you plug it in and do order of operations. And for question 1, you should have got x equals 7 plus or minus the square root of 29 divided by 2. And for number 2, you should have got x equals negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 73 divided by 4. And for number 3, we should have got x equals 2/3. That's it. Okay? So those are the answers for the warm-up. Good job for those of you who put answers in the chat box. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
I know. Thanks for following directions. So taking pictures of yourself the whole time. We won't say who's doing that, but it's a 2-letter name.
Good thing my name's Zach Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to school today?
Okay, so we're going to talk about the discriminant and what it tells us today. And the discriminant is just part of the quadratic formula. It's just the b squared minus 4ac. So it's only the part underneath the square root. That's the only part we're going to talk about today. So what does it tell us? It can discriminate between possible types of answers. Hence, it's called the discriminant because it can discriminate. Wow, right? Okay, so when it is positive, so when the b squared minus 4ac is positive, I get 2 real solutions. And if it's 0, I get 1 real solution. It just means both answers are the same, so just 1 real solution. And when it's negative, I get a pair of complex solutions or 2 imaginary solutions. So any questions on that? Yeah? What?
I would just, no. I'll wait till you go through it.
Okay, when I actually do some problems,
Yeah.
you mean? Okay, it's pretty easy. So how I do it, you guys, really, it's really easy. I'm just going to find A, B, and C just like I do when I'm finding the, when I'm doing the quadratic formula. So I want to find A, B, and C. So everything has to be on the same side of the equal sign. Luckily, I'm just saying that because I don't remember when I was looking at the problems in Delta Math if everything was on the same side of the equal sign or not. So you might have to put everything on the same side of the equal sign. But on this part, everything's already on the same. So what we're doing in class, everything's on the same side of the equal sign. So I'm just going to pick A, B, and C. So A is -2, B equals -1, and C equals 3. And then I'm just going to plug it in to my discriminant, which is right here, right? The b squared minus 4ac. So I get -1 squared minus 4 times 2 times 3. And then order of operations, right? I just fill that out. I figure that out. I fill it out. Wow. So I get 1, let's see, that's 8 times. Oh, that's a -2, sorry. I'm like, why isn't that working out? 1 plus 24 is 20. Oh, wow. Okay. I said 24 and wrote 2. 24 equals 25. So that gives me 2 real solutions. Emma Davies. And that's it. That's all I have to do. Done. Okay. So if I do number 2 again, A this time is 1, B is 4, and C is 6. So this time I've got 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6. So that is 16 minus 24, which equals -8. So this time, because this is negative, it says if negatives, I get two complex solutions, or I can just say two imaginary solutions. Okay? Yes.
Where did the 1 come from?
Because how many x squareds do I have?
1.
There you go.
I mean, 4 squared minus 4. Where did that one come from?
This
Is it
4?
from the x?
Because this discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c.
Okay.
So the quadratic formula says this, right? So let me come back over here. Quadratic formula says x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay? The discriminant is just this part right here. So I'm just looking at this part right there, only the part that's underneath the square root. And that part already has a 4 in there. And then I'm just going to plug the b, a, and c in from my quadratic.
Oh, it's A and C. I was like,
Yeah, it's a and c.
Okay, I was thinking it's still C and B.
No, it's a and c.
Okay.
Are you okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Any other questions? So if it's a negative number, it's imaginary. Yes, if it's a negative number, because remember that b squared minus 4ac is underneath a square root, right? If I look at my quadratic formula, it's underneath a square root. And can I have a negative inside a square root? No, I have to pull it out as an I or an imaginary number. That henceforth, it's an imaginary solution. Does that answer your question, Moses? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so if we're on number 3, we're going to still do the same thing, right? I'm still going to find out what A, B, and C is. So forgot to switch back. A equals 8, B equals 7, and C equals 6. So let's see, I've got 7 squared minus 4 times 8 times 6. 49 minus 192 is definitely a negative number. 143. Yeah, there we go. So that will be 2 imaginary solutions. Okay? All right, is there any questions? It's not too bad, right? It's pretty easy. It's not that bad?
No.
Okay, so what I want you guys to do is, I think there's 7 problems. I'm sorry, I'm counting so well. That's 5 problems. Yes, I is a math teacher and a college graduate. I can count well. 5 problems. If you would go ahead and find the discriminant and how many solutions there are, I would appreciate it. Write the answers in here. So if you guys need me to go over one of them, let me know and I will do so. So for A, I think my discriminant is -64, which means I have 2 imaginary solutions. And then for B, my discriminant is 0, so I have 1 real solution. And then for C, it's, what is C? -96, so I have 2, oh my Lanta. Let's try that again. Let's not try S. Let's actually put a 2 imaginary solutions, okay? And then for D, what is D? I think I got 401 for D, and that gives me 2 real solutions. And then for E, I got 0, so that gives me 1 real solution. Is there any questions on any of those? Either in here or at home? Are we okay? Okay, so now we're going to go to something a little different. So So we're going to write a quadratic equation in standard form, having the given numbers as solutions. So basically, these are what my x equals. So basically, I've solved the equation, right? I solved it using whatever method there is. And what I got was x equals -5 and x equals 4. And I want to find out what my original quadratic equation is, right? I want to write it in standard form, which says ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? I want to get it back to that form. So that's what I want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as x equals -5 and x equals 4. And so I'm going to kind of work backwards from here. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides here. And I'm going to subtract 4 here. So I'm going to get x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, so those are my two things that I've multiplied together, right? Remember the rule says if I multiply two things together and it equals 0, one of those things has to be 0, right? So I'm kind of just going backwards. So that means I can have x plus 5 times x minus 4 equals 0. And now how do I get from here to here? Well, how I get from here to here is I multiply it out, right? I can either FOIL it or use the box method. It doesn't matter, whichever way you guys like better. This time I'm just going to FOIL. So I'm going to take x times x and then x times -4 here and then here. So x times x is x squared and then minus 4x plus 5x minus 20 equals 0. So I've got x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. And there's my answer. Do I need to make that bigger, Jorge? Okay. So I just basically work backwards from solving an equation, and that's how you find out what the original equation is from the answers. Okay, we're going to do it again. I'm going to do it a couple more times before I let you guys work on this. So, same thing, right? I've got x equals -2 and x equals 8. That's what I solved for. Now I'm going to start working backwards. So I'm subtracting 8 and adding 2. So I've got x plus 2 equals 0. And x minus 8 equals 0. I'm just going to say, once you've realized this, I don't have to do this step, right? I could have just went directly to x plus 2 times x minus 8 by saying, what do I need to do? Change the signs of this, right? This is plus 2. This is minus 8. That's right. That's usually once we are solving, you guys, and we have it in factored form, you guys are usually like, oh, it's just the opposite that's in the parentheses. Well, when I'm going backwards, I put it back in as the opposite. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so, and then I'm going to multiply this out, of course. So let's see, what do I get? I get x squared minus 8x plus x minus 16 equals 0. So x squared, oh, that should have been 2x, minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. Done. Now the next two, I'll pause there for, well, everyone's writing this down. But the next one is a little harder. So I am going to actually write this one out a little bit. So... Okay, so this one, because my answer is a fraction this time, right? So that meant my answer was x equals -1/4 and x equals -1/2. Well, how do I undo a fraction, right? I multiply by the denominator. So that gives me 4x equals -1 and 2x equals -1. Now I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I get 4x plus 1 equals 0 and 2x plus 1 equals 0. Questions on that one so far? Are you okay with what we did? Okay, and then I'm going to multiply them together, right? So 4x plus 1 times 2x plus 1 equals 0. And I distribute, yeah? So I get, let's see, what is that? 8x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. So that should be 8x squared plus 6x plus 1 equals 0. And there's my answer, going from my answer back to the equation. So if I know my answer, I can find out what the equation is. Right? Not too bad? I know. Whatever. Okay. Yes, honey, what? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about at least A through D, because most people have got answers for those ones. So let's see, A is x squared plus 10x plus 25, beautiful. And then B was x squared plus 4x plus 3. And C, yeah?
Oh my gosh.
Did you forget 1 times 3 is 3?
No, I just started putting 4 in there.
Oh, okay. C is 4x squared minus 23x plus 15. D is 6x squared minus 5x plus 1. So now it looks like we might need to talk about E, F, G, and H, right? It doesn't change just because I have a root or an I in there. It doesn't change how I'm going to do it, right? So I'll show you on E, and then you guys can do the other 3. So if I have E, let me zoom in here. So if I have E, right, I'm going to rewrite that as x plus the square root of 3 and x minus the square root of 3. Okay, right? I'm just changing the signs when I put it inside the parentheses. And then for me on this one, I decided to use the box to multiply this out because it's got those square roots in there, right? So I've got x square root of 3 and x minus the square root of 3. So if I multiply this out, I get x times x is x squared. And I've got x square root of 3 and negative x square root of 3. And then I've got negative square root of 9, which equals negative 3. Yeah? Okay? So these x squared of 3 and negative x squared of 3 cancel each other out. So what do I get left with is x squared minus 3. And that's my equation. That's it. Done.
Oh. Okay.
That's it. Okay? Does that make sense a little bit? Okay, so what I want you guys can see what they are. So for F, I get x squared plus 16. And for G, I get x squared minus 20. And for H, I'm going to get x squared plus 9. Okay? Any questions? Awesome. Okay, now we're going to slightly harder, just slightly, because now we're going to write a cubic, a 3rd degree equation. But guess what? We do everything exactly the same. I'm still going to write this out the same, right? Let me zoom in here. So I rewrite this, right? So this would become x plus 2, yeah? And x minus 1 and x minus 5. So really the only way to multiply this out is to do 2 at a time. So I'm going to multiply these 2 together first, the first 2. I'm just going to multiply those 2 together. And as I multiply those together, I'm going to get x squared plus x minus 2. So if you multiply that out, sorry, I just did it in my head. You can multiply it out, right, and get that. And then I just FOILed it. Right, so I get x squared, I should just write that in here, sorry. X squared minus x plus 2x minus 2. There we go. And then from here, I went to a box because it's a 3 by 2. And you could FOIL this, which is fine. But sometimes I like the organization of a box a little better, so it's just up to you. X squared plus x minus 2. And then I've got x cubed, x squared minus 2x minus 5x squared minus 5x and plus 10. And then remember the diagonals are my like terms, so my equation is going to be x cubed minus 4x squared, minus 7x plus 10. And there's my equation. So it just takes a little bit more work to get it to become a cube, but it's basically doing exactly the same thing. Okay? Yep. And then I do want to discuss the next one a little bit because one of my terms, one of my answers is 0. So I'm going to kind of write this one out just kind of like we did on the first one, right? X equals negative 5, x, x equals 0, and x equals 2. Well, I know that this one is going to be x plus 5, and this last one is going to be x minus 2 because I'm subtracting 2 and I'm adding 5, right? But what's this one going to be? Well, it's just going to be x. There's no term with it. It's just x equals 0, so it's just going to be an x. So I just have x times x plus 5 and x times x minus 2 equals 0. And then I distribute through. So I left this x here, and I distributed this part through, and I got x squared minus 2x plus 5x minus 10. So x times x squared plus 3x minus 10 gives me x cubed plus 3x squared minus 10x. Done. Okay, questions?
So we're doing what we just did before?
Yeah, only it has 3 terms instead of 2. Okay? Conversation. Okay. So the answers for these two, you guys, are x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x and x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12. Okay? So there you go. I am just going to say something really quick about the assignment, about this part of the assignment. In Delta Math, your problems are going to be like 3 plus 4i and 3 minus 4i. You do them exactly the same way. Okay? So you do it exactly the same way as what we just got done doing. So it would be, right, x minus 3 minus 4i. And then I know it looks a little harder, and x minus 3 plus 4i. And then you multiply that all out. Okay? So it's still the same thing. And you can do a 4 by 4. You can do a 3 by 3 box, huh?
Oh, okay, yeah. See, that's
You can do a 3 by 3 box. Mm-hmm. Okay, and multiply that out. All right.
Okay.
And but again, you can also look at the show example in there. But that's how you do it. It's the same thing. Okay, so that's it.